what's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 13 of Jays Banter, your weekly voice of reason for the Toronto Blue Jays. And we're joined, as always, by our co-host, Mo. How are you?
Doing pretty good on this nice Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, and we're also joined by a friend of the program, James Price. You may know him from YouTube. James, what's going on, man?
How's it going, guys?
It's all good. We got a lot to get to today, and a week of a lot of interesting news happening around Blue Jays world. Obviously, we got to talk about Vlad, Bo, and Kevin Biggio. Things are always going good. The future looking bright, as we mentioned a lot. We had an interesting series in Seattle where Blue Jays had their yearly invasion, their annual invasion of Safeco Field. However, that was kind of canceled out by the awful jerseys. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. And Josh Donaldson coming back with the Atlanta Braves for a short 2-game series that the Blue Jays eventually swept. We'll also diagnose the Marcus Stroman trade, the early returns, and basically how it's looked for both teams. So, gentlemen, a lot to get to. And Mo, where do you want to start?
I guess we can start off with the Mariners series. Starting off Players Weekend last Friday night, where the Jays seemed to lose the series, only managing to get the win on Saturday. But it was a pretty fun series, always as usual down in Safeco Field, now known as T-Mobile Park. But the jerseys, oh god. Where do we even start with the jerseys? They were just awful, man. I think it was like playing cricket out there, to be honest. It just didn't look right. I don't know why the MLB went with silver and white. It should have been silver or in gold. That would have been much cleaner. But it is what it is, and it looks like the players did have fun, and the fans sure did have fun, so that's always good.
Did you look at the white jerseys especially? I mean, you could barely read the names on the back of them. And wasn't it, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where they had like the blue ones, where they had, I think it was the Josh Donaldson's one when he was here. Those were nice and crisp. I liked those better, but as you said, Mo, they were awful jerseys. They were just awful jerseys. Do you guys have like a favorite nickname on the Blue Jays? I mean, there was quite a few good ones, but I think 100 Miles Giles is always up near the top.
I don't know if I have a favorite one on the Blue Jays, but I think Shane Bieber on Cleveland was pretty cool. I think it was not Justin. I didn't know that was that this year, but I know it was for sure last year, so I found that pretty clever.
For me, there were some unique names, I guess. Mr. Seeds or Pieces, for sure. Other than that, they're pretty basic on our end, like Bo, Fish, Elka, Gritch, and then Moki. So yeah, say Mr. Seeds or Pieces for sure.
And I guess going to the series in Seattle, the second game was obviously very entertaining because the bats came to play in that top of the seventh inning, coming back and taking the lead, obviously. But in that game one, I mean, it's showing you that young part of the Blue Jays, right? Where they tied the game at 4, things were looking good, and then in the bottom of the 6th, I think there was it 4 walks and like 2 or 3 wild pitches in the same inning.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty brutal.
That's just awful baseball. I mean, especially in a tied ball game, it's just rough to watch. But we haven't seen that too often from the Blue Jays, so that's why I'll give it to them here and there when they play like that once in a while.
Yeah, and the Saturday game was actually very interesting because that was the only game that they won in the entire series. But there was a common denominator in all 3 games, and that was that Bo Bichette just absolutely raked in all 3 games. I believe he had 8 combined hits total. So, I mean, that seems to be the common denominator with every game ever since he's been called up. So, he's pretty much got Rookie of the Month locked down. Is that fair to say?
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bo actually looked, I think it was that one game against Felix Hernandez where he hit that nice home run into the bleachers. So Bo was looking very amazing in that series, so it's always nice to see him raking as usual. It's not a surprise when we see him raking, but I don't think Vladdy had too much of an impact in that series as opposed to this Braves series that did come by, where Bo didn't have a very good series here, but Vladdy did. So when both of them...
Yeah, it was a combined, I think it was 2 for 12 or 2 for 13 in that series with Vladdy.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, so tough. But he did have a good game last night. He had 2 hits, and I think he had a bit for his 3rd hit later in the 9th inning when the game was already out of hand. So It's good for him to put the ball the other way, as it was mentioned on the post-game radio show yesterday. That really sort of signifies his growth as a hitter, his ability to hit the ball the other way and hard and find holes through the right side. That was really an impressive part of yesterday's game, I would say.
Yeah, but Vladdy tries to just let the game come to him. Try to have a nice approach at the plate. Just go to the opposite field, line drives. It's really when he's on to his own. So when Vladdy is really dialed in with those, even with those 2-strike counts, the 0-2s, Vladdy seems to get those hits. So it's nice to see Vladdy getting hot after people are saying, oh, he's unexpected. He's not come to his expected. The hype that we build up for him before the season. But I feel like he's played really well for the Jays, to be honest, for a first year. So much hype around him, and I just feel like he's done pretty good to those expectations. Not the most optimistic that we wanted. People thought he was going to be a top 5 MVP candidate, but he's been more than serviceable, and he's been just a great player on this team.
Well, I mean, he's played 101 games, over 375 at bats. He's got a 282 average, 353 on base. He's got 58 home runs, almost 25 doubles. And the thing that jumps out to me with Vladdy, and we saw it throughout the minor leagues with him, is his strikeout numbers down. And over the last few months or so, he is not striking out a lot. He's got 71 strikeouts in 101 games. So it's 71 strikeouts in 376 at bats. That's pretty damn good for a 20-year-old kid playing in the big leagues.
Yeah, his eye at the plate and his ability to identify whether it's a ball or a strike before it reaches the catcher's glove is something that's always been a part of his repertoire, and why a big reason as to why people compare his game to his father's game was that Vladdy Sr. was kind of the opposite. He was kind of a guy who was kind of swing happy and was able to put ball to bat very, very easily and very consistently. But Vladdy Jr. Is a guy who's a lot more selective at the plate, a guy who can put the ball in play a lot more, not necessarily a free swinger per se. So that's a big part of the game that it was advertised to us when he got up here. So it's good that he's putting it to use, and we're seeing that during this current hot streak of his. But on the final game of the Mariners series, we got Clay Buchholz pitching, his first start since early May, and really a guy who, I'm going to be honest, I thought wasn't even within the organization anymore. A week ago, we had never heard much about him, but he came up and had a pretty nice start on Sunday, I would say. So should we just leave it at that, or anything else you want to say about Clay Buchholz? I think really he's just a guy who's here to pitch innings, just be a bod for the rest of the season. But anything else?
Baffled that he actually pitched. I mean, considering that he went down, and then you saw guys like Wagasback and Pinot and some Sean Reed Foley come up, okay, now they're just giving it to the young guys. He's going to stay on the injured list the rest of the year, and that's going to be the end of that. But then he just comes in out of nowhere and starts a game for the Blue Jays, but obviously they're in desperate need of some starting pitching help right now. So, but yeah, I'm really, really shocked that he actually pitched, and he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad against a team who was not very good, but did a good job anyways.
I was pretty shocked that he did pitch. I thought they'd probably shut him down until the roster's expanded in September, especially since he was on the 60-day for a long time. But I was keeping up with his minor league rehab, so and he was pitching very dominantly down in the minors. So, and last year in Arizona, the small sample size, he was very effective for them against a really strong division. So, Clay Buchholz can pitch, and it's always nice to have a veteran piece in the rotation. We've always seen these young guys like Wagasback, Thornton, but when you sprinkle in a veteran piece in the ALEs, the Red Sox, Clay Buchholz, it's always nice to see him kind of deal and see a nice polished pitcher, as you would say, with his nice secondary pitches. But his secondary pitches were really sharp that game. He was.
And you were talking about Mo about rehab assignments, and I mean, under the radar, really, Ryan Tepera. I mean, I think he's in Buffalo now.
Yeah.
In his rehab, so I mean, he could be up here real soon, hopping into the bullpen. So that'd be an interesting arm to get back. Again, he was another guy that I thought they would shut down as well, but.
We got plenty of reinforcements coming. Luciano should be back in September. I believe his Rule 5 eligibility ends soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he has to be back at some point to prove that he's eligible to pitch so that he can stay on the whole year.
Yeah, and then Clayton Richard is still on the 10-day deal, not the 60, so he should be back very soon. But we also got some guys in the minors, like Anthony Kay. He could be a possibility to pitch Sunday for the Blue Jays, September.
Heard about that.
So it'd be nice. He's been dealing down in AAA. He walks a few guys, but his secondary pitches really play well as a lefty. I kind of see his ceiling as a Mark Burley. But he's really... I'm really pumped to see Anthony Kay pitch. But we do have guys like Kirby Sned, Jackson McKellen, Zach Jackson, Tay. So reinforcements will come. So it'll take us away from the Buddy Boshers and the Neil Ramirez's and the Jason Adams. And maybe in the Zach Audleys. But we'll see some new, fresh arms for sure in the coming days.
I find it kind of weird, though, how... If Anthony Kay actually does pitch on Sunday, it's kind of weird how this is a guy who really hasn't pitched a major league game, and he was really highly criticized by fans because he was traded for Marcus Stroman, and then now they're going to throw him out against the Houston team, arguably the best team in the American League East, and just say, here you go, major league debut. I find that a little odd, don't you think?
I look at Anthony Kay right now, and the guy is absolutely dealing. I think his last two outings down in AAA, he's gone shutout ball. I think both games were 6 innings or 6 2/3, or I think he'd been something like that in his last outing. He's been dynamite. Now, I get it. Against Houston, you don't want to throw him right into the fire, but you want to see what the kid's got. You don't want to throw him up against... I personally would like to see him up against Houston in his first game. See what the guy can do. I forgot who it was. I want to say it was like Wagaspack or Trent Thornton or somebody like that who went out there in their first outing and impressed. Now, again, that it's only one start and you can't really go off of that. But with Anthony Kay, again, we have no idea what he's going to be. We all look at the Stroman trade right now and say, hey, we might have actually got the better end of the deal. In the long run, we'll never know. Well, we will know in the long run, but as of right now, it's all minor league numbers and all that. But I love the look of Anthony Kay right now. I'm just hoping and praying that when he does come up here, he continues. Maybe not at the same pace he has down in Buffalo, because those numbers are absolutely ridiculous. I think his ERA was 6.61 in 7 starts in Syracuse. I think it was,
and now it's 1.89.
1.89. In one less. That is ridiculous. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the difference is. Maybe it's just a change of scenery for him. I don't know, but he's dealing. And it's not just luck, because it's been through 6 starts now.
And remember, I think we threw Chris Rowley against a really good Pittsburgh team the other year. So it's always fun to see these guys go against top good teams. But interesting note, Anthony Kay is currently listed on the temporary inactive list for the Buffalo Bisons.
Oh, interesting.
So everyone else is listed active except for him.
Wow, so that means that's a little suspicious to say the least. He could be up here ASAP.
September is, I believe, it is Sunday, correct? September, first day of September.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah.
But the thing that worries me about Anthony Kay, and obviously the numbers look beautiful and all that, but he's only had 13 starts at the AAA level. Now, he's pitched well, but it's only 13 starts. We're all talking about Nate Pearson not coming up, and I think he's pitched a lot less than him. But we're saying not even a sniff of the big leagues, and even TJ Zook's kind of in that we're not 100% sure if he'll be up yet. So, I'd love to see Anthony Kay, but I don't know if they're rushing him a little too much. 13 starts, that's it's not a big sample size down AAA.
He is kind of advanced for AAA in terms of prospects. Since he's a top 5 prospect, he's 24. So it's not like he's very young. So I feel like he should be seasoned. But let's just throw him out there, see what we got. There's nothing really to lose in September. Does he have a 40-man roster? I don't think so. He does not. So maybe there is something to lose. But it'll be interesting to see him against Houston, against a very good Astros team. And possibly fans might be happy after the Stroman trade. But Stroman has not looked good whatsoever for the Mets. And a lot of Mets fans are kind of growing impatient with him, to say the least. His last start, he went 6 innings, 6 hits, and gave up 4 earned runs and 2 walks. By any means, it's not a bad start, but for what they gave up, even Mets fans were concerned in what they gave up in Anthony Kay and Simeon Woods Richardson. So, and I saw Mets fans on Twitter, they're like, Stroman doesn't have very good stuff, and I don't know why we gave those two